I'm Stacey Burns. I am the co-founder and vice president of business innovation for the Colorado Institute for Social Impact. So social return on investment takes those things that probably in a typical type of measurement or return on investment analysis would be the intangibles. So it's hope, it's engagement, it's what does it mean to give someone a healthier life, and how does that impact their overall, not only cost savings to our community, but actually their cost contributions as well. And so social return on investment puts dollar signs on things that are super meaningful, but maybe historically were not able to be captured. As we start to look at potentially the fourth sector, the social impact combination of taking the best of the for-profit and the best of the nonprofit and combining these two things. For-profits have traditionally been measured strictly by their financial success, and nonprofits or charities have typically been measured by their outputs and in some cases their outcomes, but not necessarily attaching a dollar value to that. And so in bringing these two worlds together, we need a new way to tell that story. We need a new way to express value. And we also need to level the playing field a little bit. I think there's a lot of instances where funders are brought a very large number that can be helped by a certain level of funding. And maybe that large number doesn't have a huge depth of impact. Helping a lot of people with something very small like a Band-Aid is not the same as helping a small number of people with their healthcare. And so being able to know the difference between those two as a donor, as a foundation, as an investor, when you look at these companies, you're actually able to align your values with where you want to put your money and make the best investments for what you believe you should be doing and what the world, what difference you want to see in the world. There's a lot of values for measuring SROI. So at the very least, it's going to help you tell your story in a different way. One of the things that we've experienced is organizations that were doing good work, they knew they were doing good work, but they were so busy focusing on doing the work that they didn't realize what a huge impact that was having, and seeing dollars and cents attached to that impact. It resonates with people. It's the common language that we all get. We all have some system of trade, and if you can put it into that common language, then now we have something to discuss and we have something in common. The other very exciting part is the process going through measuring this data. So when we're working with teams and asking them, what do they love about their program? What do they wish they were measuring that they weren't? What are the unintended consequences that could be part of their program that they hadn't really expected? Those questions generate conversation amongst the staff and the employees, and it engages them. It asks questions that maybe they haven't been asked before about how teams can work together, about the impact that the organization is actually having, and then how do we create efficiencies to make this organization and the mission that it's serving that much more impactful. When you're trying to express mission impact and tell people what that's about, why would we not relate it to dollars and cents? Because then consumers get it. They say, if I put $1 into this, you get $5 back in the community that I either lower in my taxes or some business owner is making because someone made a higher wage. That's what changes people's lives. And as a consumer, we have a stronger, more informed consumer base than I think we ever have before because of these little electronic devices that float around in our pockets. And if you're going to use that data for something good, let's create a system that helps them make those choices, that helps support these types of businesses and support making our world a better place. I love SROI for many reasons. I've been doing it for a very long time. I've actually been doing this for over 10 years now. I am passionate about giving folks a voice that are doing important work that has a tremendous amount of depth. And my absolute favorite story is the starfish story, where the little boy's throwing all the starfish back into the ocean and there's 1 million more to go. And the guy asks, why are you bothering with all this? There's too many starfish, you'll never save them all. And the little boy says, yeah, but it made a difference to that one. And so if we can help one business tell their story in a meaningful way, and that changes their trajectory and that changes how they're able to interact with their community and with funders, and change the world that much more, then we've helped. We compile our team of researchers, which includes everyone from a PhD statistics analyst to a PhD social enterprise researcher to an actuary, and a whole variety of things in between of professions and experience that we bring to the table, and we figure out how to analyze that data best and provide you with a number in dollars and cents that allows you to take that to all of the folks that you want to share that story with. I would encourage all businesses to participate in an SROI study. Everyone has a give back component, and so I think starting to have that conversation with every organization, nonprofit and for-profit, about what are you doing and what are you contributing in the community, and what value does that actually have when the money or the effort or the people you're serving leave your doors. I think there's a place for everyone there. We worked with an organization called Bridge to Justice. When we met with them, they were describing themselves as a nonprofit law firm, and that was to very much distinguish themselves from a for-profit law firm and not to be in competition with those for-profit law firms. So what they were doing was helping folks through family court. You are not entitled to a lawyer when you go through family court, and when you show up, you are lost. If you don't have representation, you're not sure where your courtroom is, you don't know where the forms are. The process can be very lengthy depending on how ugly the circumstances. Custody hearings, divorce hearings, all of those things can be quite complicated, and Bridge to Justice helps people walk through that time of their lives. The piece that we found in sitting down with their founder was that 40% of their cases were domestic violence cases. And so when we started to put some numbers to what that actually costs our state, it ended up being over $1 million in return in the 440 cases that they had served over the 4 years. That's huge. That's huge for the Boulder community that they were serving. That's huge for Colorado as a state. And that was huge for their organization, because they didn't realize that they were having public safety impacts, that they were having health impacts, that they were actually drawing a legal line in the sand for these folks that might have been the worst time of their lives. And to be able to take even a sliver of credit once we discounted all of the things that the complex attributions that go along with that, once we discounted all of that, they were given just a sliver of that, and it ended up being a third of their total SROI. That's huge. The founder has told us it's changed everything about how they view themselves. It's changed everything about how they approach funders. It's changed everything about how they describe themselves in the community, and they now describe themselves as a social enterprise impacting public safety. So it was, pretty awesome to go through that process with them. Right now we have everything from an alternative high school system to a kindergarten preschool system to a nonprofit that is very focused on giving resources to folks for jobs and for entrepreneurship, to a social enterprise that hires their own folks and gives jobs to people that are highly, highly under or unemployed completely. I think we're unique because we are able to take that intangible and work with it. So we have 3 different levels in how we describe the social return on investment. We have the established SROI, which those are the numbers that any evaluator is going to give you. They're going to tell you this is exactly what happened. This is a for sure concrete number, and there's very little doubt, no wiggle room around that. That's a fantastic number to have, and there are some people that absolutely align with that definition of what data should be. But the other ways that we can tell the story is looking at generations, the impact that certain folks are having, or looking at the if-thens, that if we got a mother a job and she was successful in that job, is her child more likely to then be successful and to have good role models and to make sure that that continues for generations to come? Those are the questions that we're willing to ask at the Institute, and I think that changes the story that's able to be told through those numbers, and you can actually adjust your story based on who you're talking to, who your audience is. And if you've got someone that is very concrete in their numbers, you'll have that number in our established category. But if you've got, I call them our dreamers, sitting across from you that want to hear about the exponential impact that you're having 5 generations from now, then you'll have that number as well. And so I think we do probably the only work in making sure that folks have a variety of ways to tell their story that allows for the entire story to be told. We have a lot of organizations that have started to look at how to tell their story. It's not how I would describe social return on investment, but there's some really great pieces that are starting to come forward. A lot of folks have realized that outputs is not something that is meant to be described. It doesn't tell enough of the story. You really need to develop outcomes. So if I served you a meal today, what did that get you? Okay, it made you less hungry, but if I served you a meal today and I helped you get a job, I guarantee that that has an outcome because we've now changed your ability to self-sustain. The organizations that I think are doing really well, you've got corporate social responsibility organizations that have done this for a very long time. And so you've got the large organization that gives 5% back to education, and that's a huge amount of money and a lot of great donation going toward education. You've got a really great foundation in New York State that is supporting folks getting themselves out of poverty, and they have a wonderful video on their website that walks you through, well, we had all of these folks graduate in the program that we supported. We can't take credit for every graduate because some of those graduates would have graduated anyway, but we could take credit for some of the folks that did graduate, and here's our return on investment. And so they start to use that language in dollars and cents. But I think that we're getting there. I think that it's just really honing in on some of the more intangibles that we haven't been accustomed to measuring or asking ourselves, what is the value of giving someone hope? What does that do for them? How does that change their lives? Are they more likely to talk to someone and build their social network, which is going to reduce their behavioral health needs, which is a cost savings? Are they more likely to keep the job that they're working at and not gather unemployment, which is a taxpayer cost savings? Are they more likely to just be joyful in their life and find a place that they absolutely love and share that with other folks, which encourages other people's behavioral health to be good? So there's so many different ways that this can be explained. There's a lot of folks that have some great starts on it. If you're a business that wants to tell your story in a different way than it's ever been told, and you want to share with the people that are important to your business and to you the impact that you're having on your community, contact us today to do a social return on investment study. I would love to geek out over your numbers with you and would love to help you tell your story in the dollars and cents that make our world better.